Hello and welcome to the Open Book channel where I talk about everything and anything writerly, very, very honestly. My name is Lady Valheim, your designated open book. If you're new to the channel, and presumably everybody is, I'm a self-published author and I recently became a freelancer providing publishing-related services to other indie writers. So, as you can imagine, I need a website. Over the last month or so, I've got my website, acidicinc.ca, up and running, and I'd like to share some insights with you specifically pertaining to the goal of creating a website as cheaply but as professionally as possible. If you find this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really love to grow and continue making useful writerly content. This is going to be the first video out of 2 about making a website as a writer and as a small business owner. This video will be specifically about the pros and cons of using Google domains, which I chose to go with and why you might want to too. The second video, coming a little later, will be about general website building tips that not enough people address, because I'll tell you, making my website took a lot longer than I thought it would. So yes, I built my website on Google domains. I think it goes without saying on a channel this small, but I'm not sponsored by Google to say any of this. So, let's start with talking about the pros of using Google domains. The biggest pro, and pretty much the whole reason that I chose Google domains, is that it's free, and to my knowledge, it's the only free hosting site out there that lets you link to a custom domain. Before I picked what web building platform I wanted to use, I'd already bought a custom domain through GoDaddy, which is acidicinc.ca, and to my chagrin, I couldn't use it for other site builders like Wix or Squarespace without also paying a subscription every month to that site too. And listen, I might be cheap, but I think it's reasonable to be a bit put off by the idea that the platform you choose is going to cost exponentially more than the domain name itself, which is the only one thing that you really need to buy. And it's ongoing, so like, as long as I want a website on Squarespace, I'd be locked into shelling out, oh my god, at least $16 a month. That's not even in Canadian, so I'd be paying business price for a personal bundle. Geez. That's more than I'd be paying for my domain for the whole year per month. So in that way, I chose Google domains for peace of mind too. I have this fear that GoDaddy will spontaneously lose my ownership of the domain, or my payment period will roll over and I'll forget to pay it, and acidicinc.ca will go back on the market and someone will scoop it up and erase the website that I already had attached to it. And that sounds pretty paranoid, sure, but there's also the likelihood that in a year's time, I can't financially justify spending money on a website anymore too. If I'm cumulatively spending more money on having a website than I am making sales by having a website, it kind of becomes an act of burning money and futility. So to combat my financial anxiety, and apparently trust issues with corporations keeping my data safe, that's also why I went with Google domains. When you make a Google domain, it is kept as a template on your Google Drive, and it's accessible through a secondary, non-custom domain simultaneously to your custom domain. So even if you lose ownership of the custom domain, like acidicinc.ca, I won't lose the website, which puts my unreasonable anxiety to rest. The next pro for Google domains, if you're looking for a website maker for yourself right now, is its simplicity. I'm not going to go into the process of setting up a website on domains because there's really nothing to say. It is that simple. Everything is on a pre-made grid on a blank page, and you can extend it down and add as much as you want in that direction. The caveat, however, and the first con to Google domains is also its simplicity. There are no flashy features or fun effects to add, like when you're scrolling through a website and elements pop into view from the sides, that sort of thing. You can make collapsible items, but depending on what you're doing, that can also make a ridiculously long page. As a tip, I found that making a lot of subpages for every individual thing that you want to show was a good way to combat the endless scrolling. Unless you want a needlessly long page, that's up to you. I just hope you add a navigation bar that scrolls with it. You know, for the sake of user friendliness. The second con to Google domains is that there isn't a lot of resources to help you troubleshoot, or rather, there's too many and it's hard to find the answer for what you're specifically looking for as a problem if it's not the norm. Here's the sad example of the hitch that I ran into. So, once I was ready, I had my site finished and polished as best that I could. I tried to launch the site. And I tried, and the strange thing was that as far as I could tell, it should have been live. I had my custom domain attached to the website, and the bar up in the top right not only allowed me to visit the published site, but it would also let me republish, quote unquote republish, every time I made a change, and it'd say, your site is now published, yay! And I'm ashamed to admit that it took over a week to figure out what was wrong, because I did everything except what I actually needed to do to fix it. I got my GoDaddy files wiped and reattached to the custom domain. I published copies of the website over and over again to see if one of them would work for some reason, and it just would not direct me to acidicink.ca if I tried to get there from anywhere else like my phone browser or my partner's computer. Any guesses what the problem was? It was one little button when launching that changes the visibility of the web page. Its default is set to private, so my computer profile had permission to see it, but no one else did, even though the website was technically published and live. Which is why it made no sense to me that I could go to the domain and see it as published when it was still invisible to everyone else. So I'm going to mention it here. Hey, if you thought that you published your Google domain, but it's not redirecting properly from other browsers or devices, you should check your permissions visibility. But yeah, none of the advice videos or articles I looked up to help me through that mention that setting. It wasn't a common thing to get hung up on, I guess, but the SEO for the more common problems people might have been having was so strong that nothing even remotely close to answering my problem came up. It was all generic and unhelpful if you needed to know anything specific. Google Domains isn't as popular as other web building platforms, so there's just less resources from third-party sources in tutorials or videos like this one where I talk about the pros and cons. But there you have it. That's all I have to say about Google Domains, pros and cons. It's great because it's free and simple, it's saved on your Google Drive, and you can add a custom domain, whereas other free website builders do not give that option. But also, it's a bit visually boring, static, and a little hard to navigate on the back end due to a lack of tutorials for the platform. Please let me know if you found this video helpful in the comments or leave a like. I'll have a second video coming out soon about things I wish people talked about more when they were building their websites that I hope you stick around and watch too. So, as always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support me in this channel, you can find a link to my Ko-fi in the description below. Supporters get extra content and discounts, so please go check it out. If you're interested in my writing, you can find all my books on Amazon under Slady Valheim. I also provide a variety of self-publishing services from beta reading to book covers, which you can see a gallery of at acidicink.ca. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.